What's going on, everybody? It's Sasha, your licensed real estate market expert here in Charlotte. And is anything stopping Charlotte? I've been living here just over 10 years now, and the amount of growth that I've personally seen from when I first moved here to now has been massive. I know a lot of people that have lived here 15, 20 plus years, and they tell me it's almost unrecognizable at some point how Charlotte has grown and how steadily Charlotte has grown. Now, in the past 5 years, we've seen that growth being taken to new heights. So if you watch the channel, you know by now I love Charlotte. I have no plans whatsoever of moving from here anytime soon. I plan to raise a family here, have my family's kids, grandchildren, everything like that here. And if it comes time when it's fall, 65 degrees out, and I have to put my heat on 82 because I'm cold, that means I might need to go to Costa Rica. But until then, there's no plans for me to leave. As the city's growing, I feel like I've been growing with the city. And seeing these changes take place almost right in front of you is pretty amazing to see. Now, there's so many people that compare Charlotte to other cities like Atlanta, like a Chicago or something like that. I personally don't do that. I see Charlotte and I see it more of a comparison to something like a Austin, Texas, or a Nashville. But as opposed to Austin and Nashville, which have seen some declines in migration, that have seen some declines in their real estate prices, Charlotte is just holding so strong. It's almost unbelievable, and sometimes I can't even fathom kind of seeing this in real time. But with that being said, Charlotte was just ranked the #1 most moved to big city in America, which is a huge deal. We just surpassed Denver, Nashville, New York City, and Jacksonville with a move-in ratio of 1.6. Essentially what this means is that every time somebody leaves Charlotte, 1.6 people get here. So we're almost at a 2-to-1 ratio. For every person that moves out of Charlotte, almost 2 people move into Charlotte. So we're still a very much inbound state, unlike some of the other cities that I mentioned. So some of the factors that are contributing to all the migration to the Charlotte area is lower cost of living, affordable housing, and a robust job market. With things going the way they have been in the last couple of years, everything has been going up. Cost of living, real estate, the inflation, so everything has been going up. But it's not only going up here in Charlotte. So as opposed to a couple years ago, there was a relatively big discrepancy from people moving from cities like California, New York, Florida, Chicago, and things like that. They were able to sell a house. They were able to come here in Charlotte, take those proceeds, and buy a bigger, better home for a lot less money. But the way we've been moving up, a lot of that has changed. But we're not the only ones impacted by this. Real estate prices, inflation, it's happening all over the country. So as those other cities and states get more expensive, Charlotte is as well. However, we are still relatively an affordable place to live, and so is the housing market when you compare it to some other cities. So I had a couple last year come out from DC, and we were looking at essentially kind of what was the cream of the crop areas. They were from DC, so they were used to that, walking everywhere, having everything super convenient lifestyle in the heart of DC. And they came to Charlotte, and we mapped out a couple areas that I thought they would like. You know, we were in the price range of up to $1 million, up to potentially 1.2, but they were hoping to stay around $1 million. So some of the areas we were looking at: Plaza Midwood, Myers Park, Elizabeth, Chantilly, Sedgefield, South End. You kind of get where I'm going with this. They still wanted to have with everything within close proximity and a lot of stuff in walking distance. After a couple of weeks of looking at some houses, they said, "Sasha, I thought it would be a lot more affordable here in Charlotte than it is in DC." And we sat down and we talked about it, and essentially they were not comparing apples to apples. Like I said, they were looking at cream of the crop areas, the most expensive areas for real estate because they're so highly desirable. And they were not comparing that to potential areas in DC where they were moving from. So I ended up telling them, listen, I can get you a 4,000 square foot house on a half acre, completely remodeled, completely move-in ready, but we need to go to somewhere like Waxhaw, Weddington, Marvin, Mooresville, Lake Norman, Huntersville, Denver, if that's kind of what you want. But they wanted the walkability. They wanted that city life similar to what they had in DC. So you get a lot less money in those areas. It's just like any other city state. If you think of the highest demand areas, the most popular areas, that's the cream of the crop. And that's kind of what they were looking at. So there's a big discrepancy, and you need to compare apples to apples when comparing some areas from out of state to some of the areas from Charlotte. Now that we've covered the lower cost of living, the affordable housing situation, let's talk about the robust job market, because we haven't slowed down. So the top industries in Charlotte are banking, financial services, manufacturing, energy, automotive, health, technology, and retail. And it looks like we're checking all the boxes on board. You know, we're not the biggest exporter of coffee, and that is our main business. We are literally checking all of the big sectors that people are looking for in a city that is continuing to grow. So our top employers here in the Charlotte area are Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Duke Energy, Atrium Health, Novant Health, Amazon, Lending Tree, and Lowe's. There's also a company named Passport, which is essentially a software development company that works with transportation and mobility, and their headquarters are actually in Charlotte, but they have thousands of locations worldwide. So you can see with us kind of touching on all of these different sectors, on the city growing as much as it has, there's really no shortage of jobs. If you are in some of these sectors, there's a bunch of different ones. These are going to be the main ones for you. And if you're in this industry, you should know about Charlotte because of the headquarters, the multiple Fortune 500 companies, the multiple Fortune 100 companies that we have here in the area. And listen, I don't want to come off as I'm saying Charlotte is sunshine and rainbows. It's perfect. There's nothing ever going wrong here. All we have is good neighborhoods. All we have is good schools, because that's not true. We have less desirable neighborhoods. We have bad schools in certain areas. We have crime. It's a major city. You're going to get all of those different factors that major cities have. But all of the pros much outweigh the cons. And other cities and other businesses are taking notice to what's happening in the Charlotte area. Charlotte just received a $200 million as an official Bloomberg American city. So essentially what this is they have access to this $200 million due to the initiatives that they're doing with solar, transportation, carbon footprint, all of this millennial type stuff. And with it being this kind of named like a Bloomberg city, we have access to certain grants. The legislation has up to $400 billion that they are giving out to cities. And this nomination from Bloomberg puts us in a position to get more of those grants. What I'm trying to get at here is Charlotte has reached new heights. We've had a continuous growth in the last 5 years. That growth was taken to new heights. And as of right now, is anything stopping Charlotte? No. The proof is in the pudding. The migration reports, all of these other cities taking notice and wanting to invest in Charlotte, wanting to be here to take part of the growth with Charlotte. Does that mean that we are immune to massive layoffs, a stock market crash, a real estate crash? Absolutely not. But the way that Charlotte is positioned, the way that we keep making these moves is putting us in an amazing position. I hope you like this video. Hit the like button, call, text, or email me if there's anything I can ever do for you. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye.